So earlier we had seen the index of a specific element. Now that element could have repeated multiple times. So if it had repeated multiple times, it used to give me the index of the first element. I mean, if it had repeated 3 times, it used to say first time in which index it has repeated. Just to give you an example, it was something like this. So if I had a linked list over here, and if I had asked for 30, 30 is present over here as well as 30 is present over here. So what it used to return is, it used to return me index 1. Why? Because 30 occurred first time at index 1. Now I don't want the first occurrence index, rather I want the last occurrence index. So where is 30 occurring at the last? It is occurring in index 2, so it should return me 2. Now how can I implement this, if you ask me? It's very simple, but before I show you the logic, I would expect you guys to try it on your own, and if you're not able to write it, only then come back and watch the video. So now the logic is something like this. Assume that this is the linked list. Now all I have to do is just some modification in the previous code. So if I get my previous code over here, this is how it used to look. So what exactly used to happen is, it used to check whether this is the element I am checking for. If this is the element, it used to return the index. But let's assume that I am checking for some element called as 30. This is not the element, so it will not. So current moves on. It will check whether this is the element I am checking for. Yes, it returns. Now I don't want to return this. Now where have I written this return statement? I have written it over here. So I don't want this statement over here. So I will remove that particular statement. But if I remove this statement, there is a problem. I have to keep track of this index, because this might be the last index as well, because I am not sure whether this is the first last index or not. It might 30 might be available in front, or it may not be available. So I need to make sure that I store it somewhere. So if I have to store it somewhere, I need one variable. So along with count, I will introduce one more variable called as index, and in index what I should store is whatever is there in count. Means whenever I find the element, I used to return the count. Instead of returning the count, I will store whatever is there in count in the index. Now how can I do that? Index is equal to count. That's all is the change that I have to do in the whole code. Now what happens? In index what will be there is index 1 will be there. Next I will move on. I will check whether this is the element I am checking for. Yes, condition true. Condition true means, again what happens? The count value changes. So the count value becomes, the index value changes. The index value becomes 2. So you can clearly see you have already got the last index. Now what you have to do? You are not sure whether it is there or not there. So you need to continue checking till the end of this. So how do you continue? You have to move ahead and you have to check whether this is the element I am checking for. No, this is not the element. Again you will go outside. Outside when you go, you need to check, you are very clear that there is no element. Since there is no element, obviously you will come out of the loop. Once you come out of the loop, you can clearly see the element that you are checking for is present at index 2. So that's nothing but 30. So the last index of 30 is nothing but 2. So all that you have to do is return this variable called as index. So I'll return the variable called as index after I come out of the loop. So I hope this is completely clear to you. But now the question is, what if the element does not exist? If the element does not exist, then what I need to do is I need to return -1. So how can I write the code for this, if you ask me? At starting, when I am creating a variable called as index, what I will do is, in the variable index, I will make sure that I am inserting a value -1. So what happens is, at starting I will say index is equal to -1. When I say index is equal to -1, what exactly happens over here is, the index value will be -1. If the element is not found, this statement will never execute. If this never executes, then the index value will remain -1 throughout the code. Since it remains -1 throughout the code, once it comes outside also, it will be -1. So what happens is, if you directly return my index value, it will return -1. If the element is not there, it will return whatever the index is of the last index if the element is present. So I hope this is completely clear to you. Now let's go and write the code and execute and check if it works or not. Now let's write the code to find the last index of a particular element. So for that, all I need to do is just go to the linked list class, and inside the linked list class I need to create one method. But before that, let me just copy all the data which is present over here. And what I will do is I will paste the same code again over here. So it is not index of, it is last index of. So I will rename it as last index of. I have made this up. Great. So the only change I have to do is I need to remove this return count, and instead of that return count, what I need to do is I need to say index is equal to count. Means instead of returning, I am storing it somewhere, and all I have to do is return index value over here. But the problem over here is I have not even created this index value. So where should I create? I should create over here before the while loop. And what should be there inside that index, if you ask me? It should be -1. So I'll say index. Index is equal to -1. So this is all I have to do. If you do this code, the code is done. So let's execute and check. But before executing, let's go and change the main method. So over here, instead of 30, 20, 30, 40, since there is only one occurrence, I will like to make it as 30 and 30 twice. So if I call 30 over here, instead of 300, if I call 30, what it will return is, it will return the first index. So what I will do is, I will duplicate this line and I will check the last index of 30 as well. Yes, great. So in the index of 30, it will return me this index, that's nothing but 1. In index of last index of 30, it will return me this particular index. So let's see whether it's happening or not. So if I just execute the code, you can clearly see the first time when I am saying index of 30, it is printing this, and second time when I am saying index of 30, the last index of 30, it is returning me this, because this is the last index of 30. So I hope this is completely clear to you. So what I'd like to do is, instead of 30 in this place, I'll put 300 as well. I'll check whether it's working or not. So you know, for this anyway it works. So if I just execute this, it should return me -1. So you can clearly see it returns -1 in case of last index. Here it returns 1 because over here I have not told 300, rather I have told 30. So I hope this code is also completely clear. If you have enjoyed this video and would not like to miss any of our videos, hit on the subscribe button and click the bell icon.